Unconscious or implicit bias. Welcome to this explainer video about unconscious bias, also referred to as implicit bias. We will use the term unconscious bias in this video. Can you explain this? A father and son were involved in a car accident in which the father was killed and the son was seriously injured. The father was pronounced dead at the scene of the accident and his body was taken to a local morgue. The son was taken by ambulance to a nearby hospital and was immediately wheeled into an emergency operating room. A surgeon was called. Upon arrival and seeing the patient, the attending surgeon exclaimed, "Oh my God, it's my son." The answer is: the mother is the surgeon. If this answer did not come to you automatically, don't worry. For most people it doesn't. In this video we will talk about why that is and what we can do about it. When's the last time a stereotype popped into your mind? Unconscious bias, or implicit bias, describes when we have attitudes towards people or associate stereotypes with them without our conscious knowledge. Unconscious biases can be positive or negative. Are different than explicit, or conscious, biases. Can be contrary to our stated beliefs. We can say we believe in equity, and truly believe it, but then unintentionally behave in ways that are biased and discriminatory. Having biases doesn't make you a bad person, it only makes you human. Our unconscious social biases form involuntarily from our experiences. For example, as we are exposed over and over to actual incidences or media portrayals of females as collaborative, nurturing and homemakers, and men as assertive, competitive, and breadwinners, those associations become automated in our long-term memory. This is why many of us didn't guess that the surgeon was the boy's mother. Another example may be when people frequently associate criminality with certain people, maybe who are a different race or ethnicity, without even realizing they're doing it. These biases are reinforced on a daily basis without us knowing or thinking consciously about it. Stereotypes reflect what we see and hear every day, not what we consciously believe about what we see and hear. It is possible for us to hold unconscious stereotypes that we consciously oppose. If you are like most people, this happens all the time. That doesn't make you a racist, sexist or whatever-ist. It means your brain is noticing patterns and making generalizations. Every day, we make immediate judgments about language, behavior, and our perception of others. Our brains process massive amounts of detail by creating shortcuts and instantly putting new information into categories based on previous experience, socialization, and stereotypes. Here are a few of the most commonly experienced biases. Confirmation bias is when we look for and use information that confirms our views and expectations. In other words, choose only the information that will validate certain points. Or take the bandwagon effect for instance. The bandwagon effect is the term used to describe the tendency for people to adopt certain behaviors, styles, or attitudes simply because others are doing so. In other words, they jump on the bandwagon. Or what to think about the slippery slope fallacy? In a slippery slope argument, a course of action is rejected because, with little or no evidence, one insists that it will lead to a chain reaction resulting in an undesirable end or ends. The slippery slope involves an acceptance of a succession of events without direct evidence that this course of events will happen. An example would be, let's not give women the right to vote, before we know it they will take over the country and take away the rights of men. There is no other person with the exact same set of unconscious biases that you have. And this is because every person is unique and their experiences are unique. In other words, your background plus your life experiences make up your story. And your story defines your unconscious biases. Take a minute to reflect on your story. Think about a significant event in your life. How did this event shape your values or the way you view the world? Take a minute to reflect on your story. Think about a significant event in your life. How did it affect the way you perceive others? Take a minute to reflect on your story. Think about a significant event in your life. How did it affect the way you interact with others? You can pause the video while you reflect, or you can come back to this later. Whether unconscious bias is obvious or subtle, it can have a ripple effect on others, on your family, on your community. Small decisions which are influenced by unconscious biases can have a big impact. Unconscious biases add up. Unconscious bias and microaggressions. Did you know that microaggressions are an outcome of unconscious bias? Microaggressions are indirect, subtle, or unintentional discrimination against a marginalized group. A minority is more likely to encounter microaggressions, even when there is no obvious, explicit judgment or harassment. Here you can see some examples of what microaggressions look like. There are 3 categories of microaggressions. Microassault, verbal or nonverbal attack meant to hurt the intended victim through name-calling, avoidant behavior, or purposeful discriminatory actions. Microinsult, insensitive communication that demeans someone's racial identity, signaling to people that their contributions are unimportant. Microinvalidation, negating or ignoring the psychological thoughts, feelings, or experiential reality of a person. This is especially important when talking to a GBV survivor, experiencing biased behavior or microaggressions coming from someone who is supposed to help them, will harm them even further. It is also why survivors sometimes stop telling their story. They do not want to be victimized further. Here is another way to look at microaggressions. Let us show you this brief video.
For people who still don't think that microaggressions are a problem,
Oh, you're so well spoken.
just imagine, instead of being a stupid comment, a microaggression is a mosquito bite.
Ugh, it's a compliment.
Mosquito bites and their itch are one of nature's most annoying features. But if you're only bitten every once in a while,
No, where are you really from?
Cleveland?
sure, it's annoying, but it's not that big a deal. The problem is that some people get bitten by mosquitoes a lot more than other people. I mean, a lot more. Whether it's on a date,
Oh, your English is so good.
Excuse me?
going grocery shopping,
You know, everything happens for a reason.
I'm just buying apples.
commuting to work,
So when are you gonna have a baby?
watching TV,
We have to keep the Redskins name. It's part of our culture and history.
or just walking down the street with your partner.
I couldn't even tell you were gay.
Mosquitoes seem to pop up everywhere.
Do you know John? Give me shopping advice.
I love Cher too.
And getting bit by mosquitoes every day,
Can I touch your hair?
multiple times a day,
So pretty. Can
Can I touch
your
it,
hair?
please? Can I please?
is annoying. And makes you want to go ballistic on those mosquitoes, which seems like a huge overreaction to people who only get bit every once in a while.
It's just a mosquito bite. Who cares?
Just another angry black woman.
Of course, beyond just being annoying, some mosquitoes carry truly threatening diseases that can mess up your life for years.
Astrophysics? Maybe you should try this challenging major.
Ow, my dreams.
And other mosquitoes carry strains that can even kill you.
He looked like he was up to trouble, okay? I felt threatened.
So next time you think someone's overreacting, just remember, some people experience mosquito bites all the time.
You're all so exotic. Wow.
And by mosquito bites, we mean microaggressions.
So why is it important to understand our unconscious biases? Unconscious biases around gender, race, age, disability, sexual orientation, ethnicity, religion, socioeconomic status, etc. can cause harm. Unconscious biases can contribute to how we, unintentionally, support oppressive and discriminatory systems. They can result in negative outcomes in service provision, and they can cause the exclusion of groups of people. Let's listen to a survivor of gender-based violence. As this is a story about GBV, this may be a trigger for you. In that case, please skip this part of the video. The voice you are about to hear is not the real victim, but the story is real and the words are the victim's words. I am Awa, I am 15 years old and I have a speech impairment. My mother died when I was 3 and my father is a well-respected leader in our community. From a young age, my father abuses me sexually and calls me in private his little wife. When he noticed I got my period, he sent me with my sister-in-law to the health center to tell the nurse that I should get contraceptives to avoid unwanted pregnancies, because he says that girls at my age cannot be trusted to behave well. The nurse did not ask to see me in private and avoided communicating with me once she noticed my impairment. She provided my sister-in-law with the contraceptives and said to her, "It must be hard to have a daughter like her, her father must be such a good father taking care of her on his own." So you can see several unconscious biases at work here. Adolescent girls are difficult/problematic or are looking for trouble. There is no need to consult persons with disabilities about their needs and wishes, especially when they are in the presence of a caregiver or an adult. Persons with disabilities, especially women and girls with disabilities, do not have the right to decide over their sexual health and reproductive rights. Religious leader/community leader and/or fathers are not perpetrators of sexual violence. Adults always know better what is best for their children. Khadija was well aware of the biases that would affect her if she talked about her ordeal. What can we do about unconscious bias? Understanding our unconscious biases is just the beginning. Next, we must take steps to minimize how often they are activated and how much they affect our perceptions, decisions, and actions. Reflect on your biases and be proactive in understanding what needs more thoughtful consideration, and have conversations with others about individual and collective biases. Furthermore, you can meet and engage in positive, meaningful relationships with individual members of diverse groups. You can consider individuals from diverse groups as equal collaborators. You can choose to prioritize and amplify perspectives of people living at the intersection of multiple types of marginalization, and of course you can promote and participate in trainings within your organization and community to increase awareness. If you have not done so yet, please fill in the staff attitude scale. This is one of the resources in the toolkit. You can pause the video. Fill in your answers privately and honestly. This is not about getting the best score possible, it is about becoming aware of your own biases. Of course, you can also do this in your team, partners, or even with a community. It can be very liberating to discuss your biases and explore where they may have come from. Restart the video to discover what the scores mean. What do the scores mean? "60 to 80 points, scores in this range indicate that the individual has a survivor-friendly and inclusive attitude, they have positive beliefs and values for working with survivors." 40 to 59 points, scores in this range indicate some troubling attitudes that may be harmful to survivors. Managers and supervisors should use their discretion in allowing staff to work on cases and may want to consider coaching the staff person before they work independently with survivor. 39 points and below, scores in this range indicate that an individual is not ready to work with survivors. Managers and supervisors should work independently with a staff member who scores below 39 to address negative beliefs and attitudes and identify immediate actions to address them. After working with the staff attitudes scale and self-reflection questions, it is very helpful to talk with your team about their findings. For this, we have a conversation guide in the toolbox. It is called Addressing Staff Bias with an Intersectional Lens. And then there are also tip sheets in the toolkit. These tip sheets help service providers to be mindful of how to interact and have conversations with survivors with diverse and intersecting identities, what to do and what not to do. Here are examples of things you should not do. Do not use anti-gay slurs or jokes and appropriately intervene if others do. Do not make assumptions or discriminate for any reason, including age, marital status, disability, religion, ethnicity, class, sexual orientation, gender identity, identity of the perpetrator, etc. Do not make assumptions when speaking to women and girls with diverse sexual orientation and gender identity. Refer to the person by the name and pronoun they share with you. Do not point out, or identify a survivor's age, disability, sexual orientation, gender identity, religion, ethnicity, or other characteristic, as this can be harmful and stigmatizing. Remember to let the survivor tell you how they identify themselves. Do not use big words or speak more than a child or adolescent. We hope this video was useful to you.
This video was produced by Humanity and Inclusion, in collaboration with Rooted Impact, and with support from the Bureau for Humanitarian Assistance of the United States Agency for International Development.